Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Do we have, is that Amber up north? Hi, Amber.
Yes,
Do
hello.
we have anybody on the phone? Is Lavon, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am. TV Ellis is on the phone, too.
Hello. Amber, do you need light up there or you have light? It looks dark.
It's actually okay. I think it's just the TV.
Oh, okay. Thank you, and I apologize for being a little late here. We will call the subcommittee meeting for the Consumer Assistance Committee for the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange to order. The meeting has been properly noticed, and it is a few minutes after 2. And CJ, would you mind taking the roll?
Ms. Parati-Boothman? Mr. McCoy?
Here.
Mr. Mazzoni? Here. Ms. Joyner?
Here.
Yes. Ms. Ellis?
On the phone.
Ms. Lewis?
On the phone.
And Chair Atkins.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Just one piece of paper, yeah. That's so disorganized. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. I don't have any announcements. CJ, do you have any announcements?
We do not.
Do you have any announcements? Okay. All right. Any public comment? We'll start with public comment. Is there any public comment in the north? Doesn't sound like it. Any
No, there's
public
not.
comment down here in Las Vegas? No, there isn't. My gosh, look how quick we got through with 1 and 2. We are on a roll, people. All right, so we are closing public comment, and let's go to the minutes. We've got minutes for November 29th, 2013, February 27th, 2014, March 6th, and March 20th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to any of the minutes? What I'd like to do then, since there's no additions or corrections, can we do all the minutes at once? Then could we get a motion to approve all, all 4 sets of minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Mazzoni, is there a
Ellis.
second? Tibby Ellis, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Look, we're now done with item number 3. Okay. Agenda item 4, discussion and possible action on the report by Xerox regarding the special enrollment processes and call center activities relating to customer service. I think Mr. Vidiello's here and can kind of go over the special enrollment process that Xerox is embarking on, and I believe that, did that get sent in an email, that document, or is that somewhere else? Oh, we just have a hand. For anyone on the phone, are they able to access it or no?
It was not delivered to Exchange staff.
Okay. So
No.
Ms. Lewis and Ms. Ellis, apparently we don't have a version that you can look at. You don't have an email.
Right.
But not right now. Oh, CJ has it? CJ is going, Tibby and Lavon, if you have access to email, and
Yes.
Amber. And
Is that item number 6?
Oh.
It's item number 6 on the agenda, on the, Yeah, it is on the internet already. I have it. I'm seeing it.
No. We're on agenda item, we're on agenda item 4. What's on the website is agenda item 6. So CJ is going to send this document right now. So if you do have access to email, you will get it. If you
Okay,
don't,
thank you.
I
Okay.
apologize. It's being handed out right now. Oh. Can we get an extra purple one up here? Oh, here we go. Just one extra. No, we're fine. Okay, let's wait one moment. Tibby and Levon, do you have access to email right now?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, so CJ just sent it.
I just have
If
to
you
sign
can-
in to my email because I'm using my iPad for
Okay.
the rest of the meeting.
So why don't we just wait one moment and let you guys try and get that?
This is TV, Alex. I just received it. I'm sure I have it.
Madam Chair, this is Amber Joyner. Was it sent to me also? I don't see it yet, but I just want to make sure I was on the list, please.
CJ's going to double check that. So yes, that's a good idea. As we're getting all of this resolved and this sent, let's take a moment and then we're going to jump to a different agenda item. And then Mr. Vidiello will come back after that. So Amber, it's being sent right now to you. Is staff from KPS 3 up north or down south?
We do have Katie Coleman up north. I'll be going over the.
Oh, okay.
marketing
Then we'll
plan.
wait. Then we'll wait on that.
And Ms. Joyner, if you could give me your email quickly. I have your old email address.
AJOINER.
A last name at dhhs.nv.gov.
Yes, thanks.
And was there a period between the A and the Joyner? Okay,
Nope,
thank you.
Nope.
Is that Shauna? Hi, Shauna. And who else is with you guys?
We have Stephen Dente up here. We have
Hello,
Athena in the
welcome.
room.
Hi.
We have a couple of audience members. We're not
Cool.
all of
All
them.
right. Yeah. So I was just wondering who is up there. Welcome everybody. I'm taking a moment to waste some time while people get emails. Okay. So we're going to skip that one just for a minute. And I am going to ask,
Some of my images did not come through. This is Levon Lewis. But
okay.
perhaps I have enough information to saying that the images are not coming through for the Adobe Reader.
Levon, I'm sorry. I did not hear you.
I'm saying that my images are not coming through from whatever was sent. So which document should we be looking at? The April-May 2014 Special Enrollment PDF?
No, the one that was just sent by email was the Nevada Silver State Exchange Consumer Advisory Board update from Xerox. And the FAQs, which are actually, this document's on the website, right? And then there's a document that's on the website when you click need assistance, or it's the FAQs for that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Athena is indicating that if we want to move on to a different topic, she could go get this document posted to the website on the 2:30 sync. So if you want to wait 15 minutes, she can get it posted to the website, or if the email's not happening here.
I think having her post it would be great, and we can come back to that. I think that's a great solution.
Okay, we're going ahead with that one then.
Okay.
Great. Okay. So we are going to skip agenda item 4 at the moment. And we're going to go in order. Let's go to agenda item 5, the discussion and possible action on special enrollment outreach plan prepared by KPS 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, CJ Bowden. We've been tasked to put together an marketing plan or outreach plan for the special enrollment period that started April 1st and will continue through May 30th. When all of the information was put together, we have put together a plan that you will see outlined here that will air actually radio ads started yesterday, airing out on the air, and they will go through May 30th of this year to close out the special enrollment period. Our goal was to quickly communicate the details about the special enrollment period to the target audience, and we needed to hold off before immediately starting April 1st so that we had the right messaging out there and the functionality with the website. When we look at the entire budget, we're proposing a budget, or we're going to use a budget of $250,000. That budget is not coming from anywhere new. That was derived from savings in the original marketing and outreach plan that we had, because we were more efficient in completing some of the things that we thought would take more money. Public education ads. We're going to spend about $20,000 putting those public education ads together. That will include television, radio, spots, and then we will air to the tune of about $200,000 in media buy. I'll go over where those will be placed afterwards. Public relations, events, 3 press releases, distribution, follow-up, media pitching, and then interview coordination with media monitoring, and that is getting on different talk shows around both the Las Vegas Valley, in northern Nevada and in rural Nevada via radio, and then also on television doing editorial spots. We also have a social media package that includes directing customers to in-person assistance. Anyone that's having issues, we're going to direct them to in-person assistance through our Facebook and Twitter accounts. If they are coming to us asking for questions, we are not able to offer technical assistance through those portals, but we will get them to the proper in-person assistance. The public education ads, we have a brief, if you look at the next table on page, oops, I'm sorry, I skipped over page 2. I'm double-sided here. You'll look at the activities. We have a finalized timing, and we have when the ads were shot, when the ads will start running. And as you can see, by 4:25, we're going to have the television ads out running. They were approved last night. On public relations, we're moving in 2 specific categories. Strategically timed press releases. We've released our first one on 4/22. When I got back to the office, that one received quite a bit of media play and was out there on all the news stations on Monday, reminding people that the special enrollment period was here and they had until May 30th to enroll. And then we're going to release 2 more as the month goes on, right about the middle of May, and then closing out the month of May. And then we're an ongoing media pitch to do interviews, multiple interviews with multiple stations to continue the word and get the discussion out there, and actually on stations like NPR doing radio shows where we take consumer calls and answer all of those questions that they have. Going down, you'll see the timeline for that, and covering it all the way out to May 30th, where we're going to do our last press release on the 27th of May, and then have media covering all the way out until end of day on the 30th. If you look on pages 3 and 4, this continues the public relations campaign that we spoke about, and moves into page 5 that details all of the stations that we are going to target with the paid ads. So it's a public service announcement, but these are all the stations that we will target with those messages to make sure we have sufficient coverage throughout the state. When we look at the English-Spanish breakdown, we're approximately 80% English and 20% Spanish when running those ads, and that mirrors and the enrollment that we've had through the portal by nationality. Page 6 and page 7 move into the messaging that we're using. We have specific messaging for radio and television, both 30 and 60-second ads. The longer format messages will include the certified health plans that we offer high quality regardless of the amount you pay, bringing that directly in from our original campaign, and then talking about pre-existing coverage. You won't be denied. On the shorter ads, we're talking and staying with the dates that you have to enroll by. If you had a problem, all Nevadans can come to NevadaHealthLink.com and enroll, and call the call center if you need in-person assistance. We're using that as the #1 tool to drive individuals to in-person assistance for this. Closing out the document on pages 7 and 8, we have both the 30 and 60-second radio and television commercials. Being as they're the same time length, we were able to shoot both at the same time and save funds doing that. We are doing those again in English and Spanish, and those will run with frequency throughout the end of the special enrollment period. At this point, if there's any questions, I would be happy to take those.
Thank you, CJ. Are there any questions from committee members?
I do. This is T.B. Ellis.
Oh, Tibby, go ahead. Tibby, can you try and either speak a little louder or into your phone? It's a little soft here.
Okay. How about this? Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. So, my comments are basically a couple of suggestions and an area of concern. This is a special enrollment period advertising and PR campaign, and I think that we should focus on the special enrollment applicants, which are entirely QHP individuals who tried to apply and couldn't finish their application. Nowhere in this messaging I am seeing that type of focus on the message. So we may be challenged by receiving another bottleneck with Medicaid applicants who have not received feedback from their application status and may think they need to recontact us to follow up with their status of their application, which they will get information directly from Medicaid, not from us. So that will keep the phones busy and all the assisters and agents busy trying to resolve possible questions from Medicaid applicants, which are not supposed to focus because Medicaid doesn't have an open enrollment or a special enrollment. They apply throughout the year. So I think that the focus of the message should be more targeted. And I think there is nothing wrong with saying if you make more than, say, what is it, $15,800 if you want to get it specific per individual in your household and you apply for insurance through the Nevada Health Link, you still have time to complete your application. Otherwise, we're going to get hundreds of thousands of people trying to apply for Medicaid or follow up on Medicaid, which we saw that during the outreach campaign. 9 out of 10 individuals that attended any event were applying for Medicaid, and that kept us tight and busy, unable to serve the QHP applicants. So I am a little concerned about that, and I wonder if there is anything that can be done to focus the message more. My second comment is related to the list of the media, television and radio channels. There is a brand new Spanish-speaking television channel, Fox Latino, Mundo Fox, which is.
Can you say the name of the television? Can you? Fox News. Fox News Latino. Okay.
Yeah, it's Mundo
CJ just wrote that
Fox.
down.
Okay. So, and they are becoming very fast the #1 audience television show. So I think that we should include them on the public community messages out there too. So those were my two comments, but I'm mostly concerned about the message that is not really targeting QHP pending applicants.
Thank you, Tibby. So we will include the Spanish language television, the Fox News Latino, and then I don't know if CJ, do you want to address maybe the messaging? So I'm not sure if everyone could hear that, so I'm just going to repeat in general. I think Tibby's is concerned that the messaging is very broad again and is going to bring a lot of Medicaid applicants and kind of have that. So that is her concern, and she was wondering if there's a way on some of the messaging it could be narrowed down to focus on QHP. So I'll let CJ tackle that.
With the call center, we looked at the different messaging that we had out there, and we wanted to keep it similar to the information that we portrayed in the first campaign. But I'll go to Katie for this if I'm misspeaking at all, Katie. But really the broad reach and the change of attestation, whereas a person didn't have to have an account when the feds came in and said, you may hold your special enrollment period, but you have to allow for attestation as well. We wanted to be able to reach the most broad audience possible. We understand that there are going to be a lot of people coming in for Medicaid, and through that, most of the brokers and agents and EEF facilities will be able to pre-screen those individuals as they come in. let individuals that would be clearly Medicaid eligible know that they have more time, they are not facing a deadline, and actually move those individuals to the back of a line for help enrolling so that they can concentrate on those individuals that are eligible for QHPs. We're instructing the call center as well when they're screening those applicants that come through to screen them by eligibility for income, and those that are clearly Medicaid eligible would be referred to Medicaid eligible sources, not to brokers, agents, or EEFs.
Madam Chair.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes, Tom McCoy for the record. I just looked quickly at some of the messaging, and you gave a little clarification there, CJ, but in general, I look at it and I say, wait a minute, it would tell me that even if I don't have an account, forget Medicaid, I'm going for qualified health plan. The copy, if the copy said something, if you've got an account number or you've got something, I think it will help to clarify for the call center and for brokers and other folks, because all of a sudden I come in and say, hey, I went online, but I never went down the line and got an account. I just was playing around, so I guess I can, you know.
This is Lynn. I'll answer that, and then Shauna and CJ can back me up. So the special enrollment period is for anybody who tried to get to the web, tried to sign up for health insurance.
Even if I don't have an account.
Yes. So there was a lot of people that kind of got kicked out of the system before they could kind of get through much of the process. And when I say a lot, we don't know what that number is, whatever that number is. So we did make it as broad as possible for anybody who attempted to sign up and was not able to. There is a group of people who has a HIX number, who did get through and they do have a HIX number. Those people can continue. For anyone who doesn't have a HIX number, there is a affidavit basically that they need to fill out on the website that says I attempted to sign up and I was unable to, and they are also going to be allowed to try and sign up. We just had a large group of people at the beginning that never even got an eligibility determination, and there was a time period when people clicked sign and submit that it didn't work. So we are trying to capture, we did try and cast a very wide net, and I think that's also why the messaging is pretty broad. Because there's a lot of people that just kind of never even got through the eligibility part, so they're not sure if they're Medicaid or not Medicaid. I'm sorry. Yes, the system that they got, it spun, and they get kicked. Yes, yes. I misspoke there. The website wasn't working. There, we'll leave it at that. Shauna, does that cover it?
That covers part of what I was going to say. I would also just want to caution the committee that trying to focus this too much, trying to say that there are dollar limits, trying to say that we want to push Medicaid to the back of the line. When a person comes through on April 30th, if they are eligible for Medicaid, they're eligible as of April 1st. And we don't want to necessarily push them to May or June by the message that they're getting, because we want them to have that insurance in April if they needed it in April. I also absolutely agree with what CJ says, that we are continuing the practice of our EEFs and our call center kind of pre-screening. If you appear on the surface eligible for Medicaid, we are sending you to a Medicaid agency or a partner to go through the process there. However, you've got people who appear because of income limits to be eligible for Medicaid, but due to other reasonings, they may actually not be eligible for Medicaid and need to come through and purchase a qualified health plan. So once again, I would just caution the committee on making any kind of recommendation that would put a dollar limit out there that would kind of steer people away from applying for Medicaid or a qualified health plan, because I think that we need to allow people to come in no matter what.
Thank you. I agree with that. Lavon, is that you? Is that Lavon or Tibby?
This is Tibby. Hang on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Tibby Ellis. I agree. We need to encourage everybody. Our mission is to increase the number of insured Nevadans, regardless of which plan we're talking about. But this campaign is for a special enrollment, and a special enrollment is primarily focused, if I'm not mistaken, on which is those 60 special days we extended for those people that are enrolling in QHP, because Medicaid doesn't have a time limitation. And based on our experience on the field, every time that we did a campaign, whether it was on the radio or in any media outlet or on fairs or community centers, and it was a general invitation for people to seek insurance. 9 out of 10 individuals that showed up were seeking Medicaid applications. And I was concerned, like many other people there on our side, trying to serve everyone, that we were not able, we did not have time enough or enough resources to serve those who were perhaps seeking QHPs because we were overwhelmed by the Medicaid applicants. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. Focus on what we need to get, which is those QHP applicants whose time will expire after the end of May.
Thank you, Tibby. I think everyone shares your concern, and I think everyone shares everyone wants the same thing here. Everybody wants the highest number of people to come back to the system, to come back and get health insurance, whether they're Medicaid or whether they're qualified health plan. And yes, and it sounds like we are experienced now with what happened, and hopefully some of these procedures that are in place will get the qualified health plan people to the navigators and brokers and enrollment assisters, and the Medicaid folks to the people that can help them enroll in Medicaid. So I think that's what I'm hearing from staff is we're working to make that a simpler, better process, I guess, and a better use of the navigators, enrollment assisters, and brokers. Any other questions from any committee members on this report? I have a couple of questions. Tibby mentioned that and I guess just for this committee, I don't recall if I told this committee, but the weekend before open enrollment closed, I stopped in at the Cashman Center event, and boy, I think 13,000 people ended up going through there. I can't remember what the number was, but it was a mob scene. It was incredible. It was crazy. It was wonderful. To go back to Tibby's point, overwhelming majority of people were there for Medicaid, which again, okay, great. We love that. But there wasn't as much QHP activity, I guess, as some people were hoping for, but it really was a terrific event. And are there any events like that planned? And maybe not. So are there any events like that planned for the special enrollment period? That's one question I have.
For the record, CJ Bowden, for the special enrollment period, as of this point, we have not planned any other events. We are happy to work together in creating promotional materials and working with the EEF agencies that are out there to hold those events and make those happen. For the second open enrollment, which is November 15th through February 15th of this coming year, we saw how successful the enrollment events were, and we're actually changing dramatically the consumer outreach programs that we did and are concentrating on multiple enrollment events held in strategic locations throughout the North and the South, all the way through the open enrollment time, rather than more of the door-to-door and community outreach approach. We're concentrating those efforts in because of the success of those events.
Terrific. Thank you. Another question. I know CJ, I think you and I were chatting about this, maybe a week or so ago. We had discussed maybe some changes or additions or updates to the website for people who are trying to go through special enrollment and really want to find an EEF, a navigator, a broker, somebody who is going to help them. We talked maybe about having that information a little bit more easily readable. The broker list, I think there was discussion at a couple of our prior meetings that there's some brokers who aren't really taking Nevada HealthLink referrals, so we kind of wanted to scrub that list and really make it a more user-friendly list for people who really will help. So could we get a little update on that?
On Tuesday of this week, we sent out an email to all brokers and agents that we have appointed and have their information through the broker listserv, and outlined the complaints that we had received from consumers about going through multiple brokers or agents and not being able to get help enrolling on Nevada HealthLink. We also asked them at that time if they are interested in still participating in enrolling individuals in QHPs through Nevada HealthLink during the special enrollment period. Please respond to us within 48 hours if they would like to remain on the list for special enrollment period. we are received, Athena's inbox has actually been flooded with those interested parties that wanted to, and we have actually received some individuals that said, no, please take me off the list completely. And we will have that list updated by the end of this week, first of next week, to replace the list. We're also going to, it'll be a smaller list, and we're going to include instructions on how to search the list, where everybody, once this sheet is open, they can immediately open that list and search by their zip code, just in a very small sub-fashion, so they don't have to scroll through 30 pages. We're going to add detailed instructions for people using that as well.
Thank you. And then I guess what about people who want to use a navigator or an enrollment assister? How's that going to be? That was the one thing that seemed not easily readily available on the website.
We're talking with Xerox. We will open another Get Assistance, where the Get Assistance is. We'll hopefully have another box in there that has information for enrollment assisters and EEFs.
Thank you. I think that's all I have. Those are all my questions. Anyone else have any questions from the committee? Okay. So we are going to close agenda item. I have to keep going back and forth here. Close agenda item 5. I think we're going to still wait on 4 just because it's just 2:35 and it probably just sunk. So we'll wait maybe one more item. So if we can go to agenda item 6, the status update on the enrollment facilitator program contracts. I asked that this be placed on the calendar just because we were thrilled to hear that we were able to enter into contracts with 3 of the Navigator entities, and that, you know, their original contracts were ending at the end of March, and so I just had asked staff to update us on just the progress or whether the contracts have been signed and just what the status is. So,
for the
Mr.
record,
Dente?
Yes, that's correct. For the record, this is Stephen Dente, training officer for the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange. I'm just going to talk about where we're at with that sub-grant process that we've had signed for the EEFs. So this report will just provide information to the committee regarding our exchange enrollment facilitator sub-grant program that, as you all know, extended into a new period on April 1st, 2014. Our renewed sub-grantees have kept up their efforts past the end of open enrollment and onward. So we are, there wasn't a pause from the end of open enrollment, so we're just continuing on. As for background, in the March 20th, 2014 Consumer Assistance Advisory Committee meeting, the committee approved a recommendation to the board to renew the EEF subgrants for the following 3 top performing entities: Consumer Assistance and Resource Enterprise, CARE, Nevada Primary Care Association, NVPCA, and Ramirez Group. At the March 27th, 2014 board meeting, the board approved this recommendation from the committee, directing staff to award continued subgrants to those top 3 performing entities. Additionally, the board approved funding to be dispersed from April 1st, 2014 through February 15th, 2015, the end of the next open enrollment period. The 3 subgrant agreements have been signed by each organization and the exchange and are linked below. These agreements provide a total of 45 EEFs presently and extended to 47 EEFs come the next open enrollment. And they will be available to assist Nevadans with health insurance enrollment, education, and outreach activities statewide. Additionally, the retention of these entities ensures that the trained, certified, and experienced EEFs remain with the exchange through the next open enrollment period. With that, I am open to any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board members or committee members?
This is Amber.
Go ahead, Amber.
Thank you. Short of being able to do a side-by-side with last year's sub-grants, are you able to tell us how they were different, if at all, as far as either the number of staff or the amount of money? I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, well, what we did was there were a lot of expenses that could be carried over. So, for instance, materials and supplies. Now, there are obviously still materials that they are going to need to purchase, but a lot of the computers and overhead costs that were filled in the last open enrollment period do not need to be filled in this one. So they do have some of those. for instance, CARE is adding 2 enrollment assisters at the start of the next open enrollment period, but they have their base level, and all of the grantees have their base level of EEFs that are returning from the last open enrollment period. So in general, they're a little bit slimmer.
Thank you. But the number of EEFs has not gone down then? That was one.
Well, the number of EEFs in total, yes, have gone down because we lost.
But not per entity?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So this is Shauna DeRose, for the record. I would say that the Ramirez Group did lower the number of EEFs. They looked at what they were producing. They looked at their staff. They looked at where they were going and where they were actually getting the most, impact for their dollar. So we did look at that and decided that we could decrease the number of EEFs that they had on their rolls. So we did do that. Again, like Stephen said, CARE was able to increase theirs. So kind of offset.
Shauna, can you talk in the microphone? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. CARE was able to increase their number. So we did offset the reduction in Ramirez Group a little bit. I will say that in general, most of the grantees has, I think, a very slim operating budget. I think that it didn't change that much going forward. Now you can say, yes, we didn't have to purchase computers again. For the most part, we didn't have to include those $450 per person to become certified. I will say that we did include some certification dollars because of staff, turning over, and we would need to be able to allow some of those people to become certified. But for the most part, we went through, we lowered them where we felt that they need to be lowered. We raised them where they felt they need to be raised, and we came to a consensus with the grantees. And I think they were pleased with it, and I think we were too.
Thank you. And Shauna, just I guess one follow-up question to that. Is there the flexibility and room to ramp up a little bit come October, let's say, or I'm not sure when, September, October, for the next open enrollment?
So there's 2 ways that could happen. One, the first way that could happen is that if a grantee was not spending as much money, say, over the summer that they thought they would spend, and then they were spending more, they wanted to spend more during the next open enrollment, they could come back and ask us for a sub-grant modification to their budget, and they could say, you know what, I saved $10,000, I want to hire another person and have another EEF, and then we would go through that process. The second way that would require additional funding is that, we'll get to November of this year or October of this year, we will take a look at the exchange budget and we will see where we are and if additional funds could be added to those sub-grant agreements to get them through that next open enrollment period. We just hesitate to commit to any of those dollars right now until we get further down the road.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to close out. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, LaVon.
I'm noticing the budget for the agencies. I see that the Nevada Primary Care Association has an amount attributed to contractual consultants, and neither of the other agencies have that. And I'm just wondering, what is that for? They have $184,000.
Right. For the record, Shauna DeRose, the Nevada Primary Care Association utilizes outside agencies to perform their duties as EEF. So where the Ramirez Group actually goes and hires 30 staff members, the Nevada Primary Care Association works with other organizations that are already out in the community, and they in turn provide a sub-grant to those organizations to reach out and have them provide those services. So because it's not personnel, because they're not hiring staff, we place those funds under contractual because they are a sub-grant for Nevada Primary Care Association.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are any other questions? I think we will go ahead and close agenda item 6. And I think we're good to go back to agenda item 4. It is on the Exchange website, so if anybody has access to a computer and internet and didn't receive the email, it's agenda item 4. It's an attachment, and Mr. Vitiello is here, and I will let him take it away. And for those of us in this room, if you want any cookies, come up. Sorry, everyone up north. Mr. Mazzoni made us cookies for the second time. He's making homemade cookies in the morning. So anyway, so for those of you here, please feel free to get them. They're still warm.
Okay, my name is Greg Vidiello from Xerox for the record. And I'll apologize in advance for providing the report late online. And there are a couple of pages here in the printed version that may be a little bit difficult to read. So I'll walk through the pertinent information on those. And if you have any questions afterwards, be happy to do that. So just quickly, we want to provide you with just a quick update overall on enrollment and special enrollment. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going through the presentation. Just 1 second. So just quickly, first, we'll just spend a moment just talking about where we are right now from an overall enrollment perspective. Then do a slight compare contrast between what has been enrolled since special enrollment period began versus the overall enrollment numbers. A quick call center update as it relates to special enrollment. One item out there, I believe it was asked during one of the last board meetings regarding the number of individuals who had set up recurring ACH payments since April. So I have an update on that, as well as the current planned outreach campaign, and then just some general updates that as we went back through and checked our notes from prior consumer advisory meetings, just wanted to try to follow up on. Okay, so first from an overall enrollment perspective, as of Monday this week, there were 32,737 individuals who have been determined eligible, selected a plan, and we have collected a payment for and have been sent over to the carriers. There are, as of Monday, there were 12,885 that had been determined eligible but are pending payment in order to complete the enrollment process for a total enrolled or total plan select of 45,622 from a QHP perspective. Now going to slide 4, which is a special enrollment versus open enrollment comparison. And for those of you who are looking at it online versus the printed version, I'll just quickly explain how the report is set up. The first column is basically, it's a report that we provide to the exchange weekly about the various categories of eligibility as well as enrollment. The first period represents what was who was enrolled between the period of 10/1 and 3/31. Then the third column, which is labeled special enrollment, is what has happened since 4/1. And then the fourth column is the cumulative total of those two. So just quickly, I'm just going to point you down to many of these numbers you're familiar with because we go through these on a regular basis. I'm not going to spend time there. I just wanted to show, based on the board's request and the Consumer Advisory Board's committee's request, is how we're going through to break up the two different periods. And just, I'm going to point you down to where we have it highlighted in gray, individuals enrolled in a medical QHP. As we ended the open enrollment period, we were at 24,773 enrollees. And since April 1st, we've increased that number by 7,964. So during the past 3 weeks, since 4/1, there are 7,964 additional people who have actually been determined eligible and made a payment. The second period here, where you see the individual pending Medicaid QHP, you'll see that at the end of open enrollment, there were 16,686 folks who were pending to make a payment. pending to complete the enrollment process. And based on some of the outreach campaigns that we've been doing, we've been able to reduce that number overall down to 12,885. And like I said, there's just other statistics there. I'm not going to spend time going through that at this point. Moving on to the next slide, just a quick call center update.
Greg, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, can I interrupt with a question?
Of course, yes, of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding as I read this, because all the other numbers are very separate between the open enrollment through 3/31, and then all the numbers start over again on 4/1, except for the pending payments. And is that correct? That we had 16,000 and it's gone down to 12. It is not an additional 12.
That is correct. I should have done a better job at explaining that. I was trying to explain that at the close of March, it was much higher. We've been doing work to try to resolve those, and we've actually been able to reduce that pending count by about 4,000.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm moving on to slide 5, which is just a quick call center update. Just wanted to provide, where we are at this point. Sorry on the report. This is a little bit difficult to read on the printed version. The average call handle time, which means from the time that the agent picks up the phone till the point that they terminate the call, is running at about 12 minutes, almost 13 minutes at this point, slightly up from the last 2 months by about a minute on average per call. Calls answered during this period starting 4/1. We've received 35,000 calls to date. We've answered 31,000. The average wait time had peaked higher in March and is trending back down. In the month of March, we were at approximately a 6-minute at various points wait time. We are trending down to a 4-minute wait time at various points now. The abandonment rate is still higher than we would like it to be. It's been in recent weeks about 10%. It has, though, trended down from the prior month by about 4% overall. The next chart that we're looking at is just one of the questions that has been asked in the past is, how many individuals have been certified by the Department of Insurance? And just quickly going down, this represents, in the first column, represents where staff is located. So the Nevada staff is related to our call center folks who are here at the Henderson office. The number of individuals in Florida or in our Tallahassee office who are also taking phone calls. The Texas office, just so everyone understands, is really a data entry facility. So when paper applications are received in, those folks are entering the application. They are not required to be certified because they're not actually going through and doing the plan certification with staff. So as of today, I'm just going to kind of walk across the total number of individuals that are certified. So there are 53 already certified in Nevada. We have an additional 30 that have completed the training and are just waiting for the certification from DOI, which means they've taken the test. We've submitted the paperwork, and we're just waiting for that to go through. We have 14 new staff that are in training right now, and they will also they're going through the certification training right now. We'll take the exam and will go through the process. And then there are 10 that are folks that were brought on as a temporary basis. They will not be staying with us long term, most likely once special enrollment ends. And so those folks are not individuals who will go through the process at this point. From our Florida standpoint, in our Tallahassee, there are 5 individuals who have completed the training and are waiting for the certification. There are 17 new staff that are in training right now and also going for the overall certification. So in total, when once all these individuals complete training, we'll have approximately 115 or so individuals who are certified through the DOI. Now moving on to
this is Lynn. Can I ask a question just while we're on this page?
Sure.
So the 12-minute average handle call time, I guess I'm still trying to get a sense, and I don't know if we have numbers on this or not, of how many applications are actually being taken over the phone, because I'm assuming 12 minutes is maybe a single person, maybe. I mean, yeah, I think probably not, but maybe a single person. So,
Madam
I'm just kind of wondering, you know, I guess I wouldn't think the goal is to get that average call time really down, because I'm hoping that these 53 EFF certified people will be taking applications or should be taking applications over the phone. So, Shauna looks like she wants to answer that. So anyway, that's my question, comment.
So, Madam Chair, for the record, Shauna DeRose, there's two parts to that. One is during the open enrollment session, when things got a little bit crazy for us all, we stopped taking applications over the phone. And we started, as people came in, if they had a problem, we handled the problem. But if they just wanted to go through the application process, we referred them either out to a Medicaid agency, depending on a couple of questions we asked them to kind of, steer them to the right place, or back out to either a broker or an EEF. So that's one thing. So we really aren't supposed to be handling those applications on the phone right now. The second thing is that it is obviously in the best interest of Xerox, because they have to meet their SLAs. They have to meet those contractual requirements on what those call times are supposed to be. And so we consistently report back to the board and to the subcommittees, obviously, what those call handle times are, so that they understand where we are in relation to the SLAs that are in the contract. So there's kind of two sides to that, why we're providing that information to you. Does that make sense to you?
So everything you said makes sense, but I thought that we started taking applications over the phone a month or two ago. I remember when we shut that down, which completely made sense. But then I thought that got back up on track. Like, I could have sworn that we talked about that either at one of these committee meetings or a board meeting.
So there was always the opportunity that when somebody had a problem and we had to finish an application with them, we were walking them through and taking care of their issue. But for the general person just calling up and saying, hey, I want to apply, I want to fill out this application, and going through, we're still steering them out to the proper resource in the community.
And Ms. Ekins, I just wanted to make one other comment about that. Again, we're speaking about an average talk time. So overall, there are people who we are helping on the phone. We're not on a consistent basis always taking a brand new application, but when somebody calls us and they need the assistance, those calls are obviously taking longer. So it's just the mix of calls that get you to the average talk time.
Sure.
Overall, just meaning, the main point of reporting this was really just to show that from last month to this month, it's gone up about a minute.
Absolutely. And I guess I just want to make sure that when people call and say, I have no transportation, or I am disabled and I have no way to get to anybody, that the call center is taking those applications, or are we referring them to a broker or navigator for a phone evaluation? Is there kind of we take them.
Yes.
I am told we take them. Okay, excellent. I like that answer.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure before I say that we're not.
There was a group response here. Okay.
Thanks. So now turning to quickly slide 6. And Ms. Ekins, I think this was maybe your question during one of the last board meetings. It was, how many people have actually set up a new account to take a recurring ACH payment, and appreciate that these numbers were as of last week's meeting that we were prepared for the board, but at that point about 268 folks had actually set up a recurring payment in the month of April. So we'll continue working with folks to encourage them to set up recurring payments, but It's just the breakout. The next slide, slide 7, just quickly speaks to the special enrollment campaigns that are planned. To date, most of our outreach plans to date have really focused on going after the individuals who were pending payment. Starting next week on the 29th, there are several others that we're going after. One is that group of individuals who are known to the system but didn't complete the application process. I think in one of the last board meetings we reported there are approximately 40 or 50,000 individuals who might fall into that category. These are the individuals who we believe we have an email address for or some kind of contact information that we will send out either a letter or an email to. And then there are those individuals who were considered QHP eligible, but they had not yet selected a plan, and those with APTC and those without, and that total combination unduplicated was approximately 60,000 individuals. And so we're focusing on those campaigns over the next week. And we're sending out the letters on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so that way, when those calls come back in, hopefully on Thursdays and Fridays, it's typically the slower day in the call center, and we have staff available to actually assist those individuals should they come back. There is another campaign out there that we will be working with the exchange on, and those were the individuals who were initially denied Medicaid and have come back through. And so we will be working process through those to try to figure out how to attract those individuals in case, when they receive that denial notice, if they don't call us, then at least we can try to reach out to them. Then just a few general updates I wanted to just quickly talk about. And I think these were items that came up during prior board meetings. One is just, the overall outreach programs. We've been trying to do some limited outreach to some of the brokers and meeting with some of the navigator groups, in particular TIBI and the CARE group. And we're getting ready to set up, working with Dwight to set up what we're calling a broker in-service day. So our broker support staff on our side can meet with Dwight and some of the other brokers and kind of go through and hopefully do some knowledge sharing and hopefully work through some of the issues that I know that are frustrating for Dwight and other brokers who call in and have concerns about maybe information that our representatives are giving out, so we can get to a common understanding, knowledge, common language, and hopefully improve the process, especially as we're preparing for open enrollment next year. So in addition to that, we are trying to do a better job at when we're making changes to the system, putting the scripts out there, and also trying to develop a process to ensure that the brokers and navigators have that information, and kind of just moving into special enrollment. We had put, I know you have out on the website the process that was used for special enrollment. It's about a 4-page document that explains how to go through and how to use the system. Just some of the, and if you have more specific questions about it, Lori, who's here in the seats, will be happy to get into more detail if you have that information. But we prepared, just quickly, we prepared several different scripts and processes depending on whether you're a consumer, whether you're a Xerox agent going through the process, or if you're a broker or enrollment assister. So, major changes that we did do in order to support the process. As we know, individuals who did not complete the process on 3/31 that were interested in coming back in, we fairly quickly put in a process that if somebody wants to continue their application, that they could expire that application and it would pull over the data that they had previously entered into the system. Just speaking with our representatives who have been helping with that, that seems to be working okay. There's still been some instances where we've had to instruct people, unfortunately, to go back and re-enter the application from start to finish. But overall, I think that process has been working better. And we also just put in that self-attestation button, or affidavit, as you referred to it earlier. And, you know, feedback that I've been receiving on that is that it seems to be working better. And just one last thing, we had, I know there have been a great deal of concern around the ability for people to submit payments either, you know, through the web portal or through the IVR. You know, that's a continuing process that we're continuing to work through. However, yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet with the co-op in person, and one of the topics they brought up was the ability for people to do that. And for the folks that they've been assisting, they said over the past week, they've had much better luck, where their customer service agents have been indicating that they haven't been having as many problems with people making the payment and, you know, using that vehicle. So overall, I do think, you know, things are continuing to improve. Not as fast, of course, as I would like them to, but we are making progress, you know, each day.
Thank you for that report. Questions on any or all of that report from any committee members? Dwight, I'm just so quiet today. Must be ill. It's the cookies. It's the cookies. Levon or Tibby? Any questions?
I'm good. This is Steve.
Ms. Levon, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just as an anecdotal statement, I just wanted to say that, you know, the brokers have been working with us since the beginning of the special enrollment to kind of get us, you know, an understanding of what they're going through. And they, you know what, they really were instrumental in helping us come up with the ability to do this attestation and let people go all the way through and pick a plan and pay for the plan without having to call the call center. And I think we can all agree that if you don't have to stop your application process to call the call center to have them push a button, that we're all better off. So I would definitely put on the record that the brokers were instrumental in that, had really good, helpful, messaging for us. And I must say that when this went into effect last Thursday night's build, and Friday morning, I got a couple of emails and some calls from brokers that said, hey, you know, I can hit an attestation button and go all the way through and pay. And they were very, very excited to see kind of the results of their conversations. So I just wanted to put that out there that I appreciate their input, and I hope they appreciate that we got that done as fast as we possibly could.
Dwight Mazzoni for the record. Thank you, Shauna.
Dwight Mazzoni for the record.
Thank you, Shauna, for the comments. I do have one commentary, and I've already shared this with a few people. My biggest concern is, lo and behold, last night, I actually enrolled 2 people, both of them buying a policy, not Medicaid. Not that I have anything about doing Medicaid people. But then this morning when I went to finalize everything and set up the payment, I was told, I guess wrongfully so to a degree, that we don't take payments by phone or over the internet on the computer from the 15th to the end of the month. Now that has been since corrected. I've now been understand it's from the 25th to the end of the month, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. My point isn't that we can't take payments, although that is an issue, I think, particularly when we've been communicating with people since the 1st of March. And we don't have the ability to maybe get back in touch with them as quickly as possible or whatever, telling them they can go online or they can make a phone call to make a payment, and they're not. My issue is, where the hell is the communication process? Why isn't this stuff being shared with brokers, with facilitators, with Tibby's people, with everybody out there? And why do we have such a huge problem between the exchange, both sides of it, both Xerox and the exchange in Carson City, and the people that are out in the field working with the clientele, getting information? I keep hearing we're good at communicating. I don't know where the good at communicating is. The second part of this would be I'm going to stay a broker and sell within the exchange during the QEP. I got 48 hours. I'm sorry, CJ. my calendar is pretty damn full of stuff, and I don't even look. I get 250 to 300 emails a day, and I know a lot of my compatriots in the business who equally do that. Sometimes we don't see emails for 2 days because we're out talking to people, we're working with the exchange, we're on the phone. I will tell you that the exchange phone system is working a little bit better. Instead of 15 minutes to 2.5 hours, now I'm getting people within 5 to 10 or 15 minutes to talk to, which is a big help. And I do think to some degree there are some changes that have happened within the software, within the program. However, no communication has been sent out on what changes have been made with the software and that. So sort of in the dark, we sit here, we do all this stuff. I made a phone call just before I came to this meeting, said, okay, I've got some people ready to go. Can I have them call, or would they be better doing it on the phone? And I was told, nope, they can't do either. They just can mail it in. And that's deplorable. It's ludicrous that I feel like we keep kicking ourselves in the rear trying to make things happen. And I mean we, all of us, I don't mean just agents or anything, trying to make things happen, and we run into roadblocks that don't make any sense and aren't communicated. And my issue would be, how about we have some communication, real good, strong communication, when you're going to make a change like the change of when we can pay, or when you make a change like you did, that you talked about, Shauna, and I realize that everybody's involved in trying to, how about that's sent out in an email blast or whatever, and I don't care if Joe Blow, a facilitator, a navigator, an agent gets it and he's not involved anymore. Gee, too bad. Write somebody and tell them you want off the list, because I want to stay on the list and I want to make this thing work. And it's extremely frustrating to my clients, who are your clients, and who we're charging money from, and they're paying the way for this exchange to work, or hopefully that's how it's going to work. And now they call up and they said, we can't take your payment, sorry. And then they call me back, and maybe I can't get to them right away. So now it takes them several days or an hour or 2 hours or whatever to be able to understand what they have to do and how they have to do it. And I've not been communicated with. And I'm the guy that's the point of contact with the customer. And those customers or those clients are extremely important to the success of this exchange. We have got to have some communications. And I think if CJ looks at his emails, he'll see a few emails from a few of us, maybe more than one a day, saying, hey, let's do something, let's change it, let's talk about it. But it isn't a two-way street. I feel like we're sitting in the alleyway and someone turned off the lights and say, go ahead and play, and we don't even know what the game is. Sorry, Madam Chair, but.
No, thank you. It's good to know you're back. Mr. Vidiello?
And I appreciate Mr. Mazzoni's comment, and I think I can answer to only some of that information, and especially as it relates to the system changes. Again, I think although we're not reporting maybe in the board meeting as much as we were, or in this meeting, the number of system changes that we're continuing to make, for example, I think when it comes to the special enrollment, this, putting this documentation out there was an example of trying to improve the process and put good information out there. We are changing things still rapidly. Each week we're implementing fixes, we're putting in new features, and in the interest of improvement, sometimes the documentation, the communication is not coming out as timely. And so I take responsibility for that, and I will work with my team to try to improve that. Hopefully, as we continue down this path, we won't be having to release as many things into the system and as rapidly, and so because things will continue to stabilize. But I'll take responsibility for that and try to improve on that side. With regard to the payment issue, I know you and I briefly spoke before this. Before I respond here to the overall board, I would like to go back and get some additional information to see how that particular instance happened. That you shouldn't have been told. I don't think that, the response that you received in that manner, but before I respond in more detail here, I'd like to go back and get that information.
And if I can address, I think, one of the comments, yeah, I think we need to find out about that payment issue. I mean, I would think that sounds like a top priority. the CJ sending the list, the information to the brokers and asking for 48-hour turnaround. Yes, in a perfect world, we get everybody is swamped. Everyone is swamped. But the special enrollment period is ending in 40 days now. And so it's kind of like we got to get that list up. The list that's up there right now is not working. And so we don't have kind of a lot of time to wait. And so I appreciate and understand that everybody is swamped and everybody's busy, but we got 40 days left. We got 35 days left. So, that list, that new updated list has got to be up there. And, CJ will have to make a determination if he gets a bunch of names in over the weekend, if he wants to update it, the following week or something. But we've got to get something workable for the public now. So I appreciate that it's frustrating and in some, you kind of want to, but we're just in too much of a time crunch for that. So that's my opinion on that.
Dwight Mazzoni for the record. I can appreciate the commentary. I'm not saying we cut off and don't allow names to be added in a week or 2 weeks, but I got phone calls from agents last night saying, what is this all about? Why are we doing this? What's the problem? And I'm part of the reason why we're doing it, I think, because we had some serious talks, or I did with Steve and some other people about this stuff. I think it's important that we get people that want to be involved. I have no problem with that. But to make it sound as if in the email, if you don't tell us by today, Thursday at 5 o'clock, you're out of luck, maybe just something a little bit different wording that, and I realize we're up against a time crunch. The other piece with the time crunch, and this goes back to you, Greg, is I was told today in the same phone call, don't bother putting anybody into the system because we have a new reiteration of the software coming out, and I don't remember exactly what day she said, but I think maybe Monday or maybe even later in the week. So you shouldn't really be putting in people today because you're probably going to have to wait because we have new things that are going to happen on the software. I'm sorry, but the communication problems aren't just external. They appear to be internal based upon what you and I've talked about and other things. And all we're trying to do is make it work. That's the whole big deal, is making this thing work and getting people on, because Shauna and the exchange and Steve, they need the money to run it. And the only way we're going to get the money is by enrolling people in premium paying plans.
Dwight, can I just ask you a question? When the few comments that you've made when you said you've been told X or you've been told Y, is that when you're calling the call center?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the broker line?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear so everyone kind of knew, because I didn't realize.
I document the name, in which I can provide later. And I'm not trying to get after anybody. I'm just, when you're talking to them and they tell you certain things. And sometimes, at least some of us, I believe, when we're talking to you, the broker hotline people, we're educating them. Oh, that's not exactly how it works. Take a look and read this, or look at it from this perspective. So there is an educational process. It's not just for them; it's for us too. I mean, we're all learning as this thing goes along. So, but I think we have to try and get on a common wavelength so that we all are trying to get the same thing done. And there are days when I have to tell you, it's just extremely frustrating when you've told the client one thing. At one case that happened, submitted everything was said and done, went back in to just check on it because I didn't know what had happened. The client said, when do I get my information? Went back in. Last night I was told, and this was for a 4/1 effective date, oh, that never got submitted. Oh, really? Why? Well, we're not really sure why. It looks like the file got corrupted. When was somebody going to tell us the file got corrupted? And it's a pat answer. I get that answer. I've gotten it quite a bit, which brings up another piece of this, and we've talked about this before. It would be very, very helpful, more than very helpful. It's actually critical in my mind. When I submit somebody, whether I'm a facilitator, an agent, or whatever, no matter what plan they're going on, I don't care if it's Medicaid or Nightlife of Texas, and I'll keep it politely at that. No matter what company they're going with, the system, when we get to the end and it says, okay, you're done, how about something that creates a receipt, or whatever you want to call it, an acknowledgement? Gee, dear Mr. Bowden, you have applied for a Nevada Health Co-op Union Star plan. The premium is X dollars. It appears you qualified for CSR. It appears you qualified for APTC. Please check with your agent, producer, or whoever, or call the exchange and verify the information if you need to. And that way I can say, wait a minute, I got something that says I did it. We got it. And I unfortunately, I think that's going to have to rely on the system being able to identify me as the agent, because I would want that in the file, say, oh, I did everything I was supposed to do, now what am I supposed to do? And I think the facilitators, all the navigators are all in the same boat. And it doesn't matter whether they're going Medicaid or going fully insured.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, responses? Shauna? Go.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Go ahead,
thank you
Shauna.
very much. So just to answer a couple of those things, like Greg, Dwight, I'll apologize and I will take some responsibility for the information that comes out of the exchange. We do want to be partners. We do respect the information that we get from the brokers, and we do want to maintain that. I will make a concerted effort to get more information out to the brokers if you make an effort to read your email. So I know how busy you are, and I can only communicate it to you if you're going to go read it. I will say this, that like I said, the information about the attestation, that was in the build on Thursday. We wanted to make sure we tested it on Friday, made sure everything was working. We did send out the blast to all of the brokers and the EEFs with all of the screenshots and the directions on how to do the actual attestation button and everything that the person had to do to get the person through. It is also on the website, but we did send that out to the listserv so that you all got that directly. Now it went in, you probably got it a day or two after it went live, because again, I wanted to make sure we were able to test it and that it worked perfectly for you. So we do try our best to get you this information. It may be a day or two after, but I would just say please keep an eye on, anything that's coming out from that listserv, that it really does have some good information. And again, if I take a better aim at trying to get this out 2 or 3 times a week with updates, with plans, this is coming, this just went in, that information will be in your email and it'll be there if you want to read it. And of course, while CJ sent out, something that said you've got the 48 hours to do, if we get one a week from now, we will add those brokers back to that list. However, they won't be on the initial list that CJ said would go out there on Friday. We will have this trimmed down list on Friday. We can make an effort to put it back out there, twice a week or whatever, when we get enough change to that list. So that it is updated. The other thing, I just wanted to give you some affirmation, Dwight, that I've got a couple of EEFs in the room up here. They're nodding their head. They're telling me that the comments that you're making surrounding the information that's coming out of the call center and some of the things that the CSRs are telling them are definitely right on. And so I will delve into that a little bit more and find out what's going on there. Obviously, I'm going to talk to Greg about the payment issue. And also, I want to let you know, though, that there is a receipt at the end of the process when you enroll someone. So if we need to help you get through that process so that you see that, we can show you where that is, because there is a receipt there. So I want to make sure that you understand that part as well. So that was it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. I just want to say 2 things. On the receipt, I've heard the same thing that Dwight said from another group of brokers, too. So I'm not sure where the breakdown or what's going on, but that's clearly a thought in the broker community, is they can't get a receipt. So I think that might be something to send out on the listserv as well. But I also wanted to go back to something Shauna said at the beginning. I think obviously it's been a very, very difficult, 5 months now, 4 or 5 months. And, I think one of the best things 7 months. And one of the best things that has happened, though, is getting this committee back together. I think we did that, in February. We did that in February. And I think there was a little bit of angst because there was so much going on with so many people and so many different groups and staff, and the idea of having another committee meeting was very overwhelming. But I do think, one of the best things that has come out of it is the brokers and EEFs working with exchange staff and Xerox more and figuring out some of these common problems and trying to come up with solutions, and that just wasn't happening before. And so I echo Shauna's comments at the beginning that I think when we do see everybody working together on these issues, we do see some solutions that are coming out that are really great, because you guys are in the system all the time and see a lot of things that an individual person, who goes through the website doesn't know it might be a problem because it's just the one time they're going through the website and they maybe get through it or don't get through it, whatever it is. So I just want to say that so again, I know full well I've been one of the harshest critics of lots that have been going on, but so thank you to staff and the brokers and the EEFs and to Xerox to working together on some of these issues and really teaming up to try and tackle them, because I know everyone's just been, really swamped. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
Dwight Mazzoni, for the record, I do want to go on record as stating that I believe in listening to people from around the country, particularly those that are involved with federal exchanges, not state-run exchanges, that we still have a better way of doing things than the feds do with all the issues. And I've talked to people in virtually every state that has a federal exchange. And while we have our problems and we have our issues, we're better able to address them, I believe, now. In the past, not so much maybe. And I think we're working towards a viable solution for the citizens of Nevada. And that's our whole deal here, is to try and cover the citizens of Nevada. The one thing, and I asked CJ this earlier, the one thing I would ask Xerox to do is to be able to produce at some point in the fairly near future some sort of account. I'd like to know how many of the fully insured plans were done by an agent, how many were done by the client themselves, were actually successful, because Lord knows many of us, I've gotten people that have tried it upwards to 12 times and never been able to get through, which leads me to doubt that the numbers that are used sometimes are really that valid. As, yeah, you were hit that many times, but I'm not sure that means anything other than, yeah, you were hit. Okay, it's kind of like a boxing match. Maybe it'll knock you out the next time it hits you. And also, and I understand CJ says we lose track of it when it goes to Medicaid, but I'd like to know, and I put my name on an app if I'm doing a Medicaid app, I'd like to know how many are am I as a broker or an EFF, and I'm sure Tippy would like to know, am I responsible for going to Medicaid? If we have, how many people do we have Medicaid? 90,000? 100,000? Over 100,000? We have over 100,000 people. How'd they all get there? I mean, if most of them came from the EFF people, from the navigators, I think that justifies some of the discussions that have been had at the board meeting and at our meeting in the past. And I'm not sure where the agents and the brokers are and how many people have been pushed through to either fully insured or the Medicaid side of the fence. And I think this would be very valuable information moving into the next open enrollment, which I think hopefully will not be as tedious and egregious as this open enrollment has been, all of it, from October 1 through now, so that we could do a better job of serving the citizens of the state, in spite of it being an election year. So I got my political commentary, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right. Unless there's any other comments, I think we'll close out agenda item 4. And let's jump to our last agenda item 7. Is that right? Well, not our last agenda item, but agenda item 7, the request from tribes regarding educational materials.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, CJ Bowden. The Silver State Health Insurance Exchange, in conjunction with the Division of Healthcare Finance and Policy, holds tribal consultations on a quarterly basis. They've become more frequent now with the issues that have been surrounding Medicaid enrollment and enrollment in qualified health plans through Nevada HealthLink. And at the previous consultation that was held at the Division of Health and Human Services in Carson City, previous Director Hager attended that and brought back information from the tribes. I've held tribal consultations over the past 2 years with Nevada's federally recognized tribes in different settings, different locations, to listen to input and hear how the ACA would affect them and how Nevada HealthLink and the delivery of that information would affect them. And they've come back with several concerns. I've brought some of those to the board. I've had a policy of always bringing actionable items to the board, and not just complaints. When something's actionable, I believe it can be heard by the board, and we bring that in front of the board in a board report form and bring it forward at the last tribal liaison meeting. We'll get to the very bottom portion, but I was informed there are different things, and the tribes would like things addressed differently from the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange. So to start that out with this report, let's look at the first item that would be best for the Consumer Assistance Advisory Committee, and that's education materials. When looking at the different materials that we have out there, the tribes have stated that they would like specifically produced materials that go over the ACA and all of the tribal information. We have produced a setup called the American Indian and Alaska Native Informational Sheet, which is accessible on the very front page of the Nevada Health Link website from Tribal Consultation. They liked it placed there, so we wanted to make sure it was placed out in front. They are not happy with the content of that informational sheet. Staff has looked at many ways to restructure the content on that informational sheet to make it as simple and easy as possible to use, but the tribes would also like a committee formed to have input into the informational sheet. Thought that would be best served bringing that to the Consumer Advisory Committee, as well as the tribes expressed a understanding that many tribal members here in the state of Nevada do not have internet access, and they do not have the ability to get online to look at any of this information, whether it be from Nevada Health Link or whether it be from Medicaid, and they would like printed materials distributed to all of the tribes, as well as a special stratified advertising campaign with public service announcements directed directly to tribal members throughout the state of Nevada in the rural areas.
Can I ask a couple questions on this first before we move on to anything else?
Absolutely.
So this information sheet that we and I use we loosely, so staff, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
So we designed, they would like it redone.
That is correct. They would like things added and language added to it, or language taken away, and it be in an easier to read format.
And have they like edited this and given it to you?
No.
Have we asked them to edit it and give it to you?
They asked for a committee to be formed so that they could come together and provide suggestions to that. It was staff wanted to get the information on the website as soon as possible to appease and have the information there, and they have not come forward offering a date as of yet.
So would this committee be
comprised
of just them?
Clinic directors.
So yes. Could they just get their own committee together and make recommendations to edit this and get that to us? Or is that something we would really need to manage? Or could we say, yes, as soon as you form whatever committee you would like to review it and get any changes to us, and we'll look at them when you do that? Or is that not, do we think that's not sufficient and not helpful?
We would definitely take any input from the tribes. If they brought an input in an edited form back, we would definitely take that, but it appears that they would like us to schedule, hold the meeting, take down their input, and then create the document.
And if we did that, is that so if we did if we did kind of say May 3rd, we're going to have a meeting and it's going to be at 3:00, where would this be? Would it be on the tribal lands? Would it be in Clark County? Would it be up north? I'm not sure where our audience is.
I believe we could do it just as we do these meetings, the Consumer Advisory Committee meetings. We could do it from the north, from the south, if they wanted to participate via video conference, and we could have phone-in participation as well.
Okay. And do we think when they say they want it reworked, do we think that they need it a little simpler language?
Yes. They were discussing that many of the members do not understand what a deductible is or what max out of pocket are, and it's through my 2 years plus here, it's very difficult to describe the term deductible without using deductible,
right?
Because it is kind of a single stream word, but we can describe what a deductible means and what you have to pay to before that and break out the language. It would just be a process in going down through each term and having them provide suggested language.
Okay, and then my other question is, would whatever materials that if we were able to produce materials to actually print and give them, would it be this sheet, or would it also be the marketing materials that we have about Nevada Health Link in general, or are those not useful at all to the tribes?
They are interested only in the Alaska Native American Indian specific materials.
Okay, thank you. All right, so those are my questions on the educational materials. Okay.
The same.
Dwight Mazzoni, for the record, I'm trying to keep with what your educational material. It's interesting that two things they talk about. One is having a dedicated customer service center person. Would that, I have no problem any way it goes. Would that necessarily be a Native American? Do they have somebody that we could recruit who lives here, who could work in the call center and help do this? I don't know, just a question.
Mr. Mazzoni, CJ Bowden, for the record, I don't believe nationality of the person that has that position has anything.
From a perspective of either language or culture or whatever, I'm not, whoever it is, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm just wondering if that's something we should make sure we clear with them. A question I would have for them if I were doing it. And number two is, under the enrollment process, we've been sort of talking around this for a long time, and I find no issue with trying to talk with the programmers to see if there's any way that we actually could do what they talk about in the last sentence of paragraph or section 3 on page 2 in the enrollment process, to be able to make it easier for people who qualify to either do it themselves or for an agent or a facilitator to go in and pretty easily and quickly get someone, I qualify for Medicaid, excuse me, I do both, for Medicaid, and just move them right into the Medicaid process rather than go through all of the other things that have to happen vis-a-vis CSR, APTC, and everything.
So moving on to the call representative, the tribal clinic directors and tribal leaders request that the service center have a person on staff specifically to trace all tribal issues, and that would be a person from start to finish, whether it be a Medicaid application or whether it be a QHP application, that they can call that person, immediately get an identified case number, and track that through in an expedient manner. And in a perfect world, I mean, we would love to have all CSRs be able to do that for all individuals here for Nevada Health Link so that they can know exactly where they're at. And I think throughout the remainder of this year and through next year, the processes will get better. But it was brought forward to me that they would like a dedicated person only for tribal issues. The enrollment process, as Mr. Mazzoni discussed, the tribes, to simplify, liked the way it was before Nevada Health Link came along, and it was easier for them to make sure their individuals were able to enroll in Medicaid, and they would like to go back to the pre-existing system. If a person did not qualify for Medicaid, then they would go over to Nevada Health Link. That was a request that the state strongly look at changing the current enrollment process for Nevada Health Link. Payment process. It was brought up that one of the hardest things to do on Nevada Health Link was to actually pay for a qualified health plan for an individual and get that payment to go through. I let the tribes know that since the last tribal consultation that was held, that Director Hager had resigned, and also that the board had moved forward and taken payment process from the Xerox contract and moving it in a pilot program to the carriers so that the carriers would be able to carry out the collection of payment, and that would not be an issue moving into the future. At that point in time, the tribes brought forward the concern that if all the payment process was gone and payment aggregation was taken away from Xerox or Nevada Health Link, then they would not be able to do list bills for their individuals, and where the tribe pays for members of that tribe for qualified health plans, if they choose to do so.
Dwight Mazzoni for the record. I have a question about individual carriers not conduct a list bill for the tribes. Trying to remember some legal stuff, whether it's federal or state, about some of the doing of this. The reason why that could be is because then it could be deemed, help me out here, Mayville, it could be deemed, if there's a list bill, it's a group plan, and it could fall afoul of ACA and some state laws. Albeit now the old way we did things with guaranteed issue and stuff is quite a bit different, but I would understand that, and I'm wondering if we can't talk with, I would suggest, respectfully suggest, that we talk to the DOI, make sure we get some information from them about if this is feasible, and number two, then talk to the 3 carriers or 4 carriers that are involved. I can't imagine the carriers, if there was a legal way to do a list bill, that they would not be willing to do so. The carriers are driven by premium, and if they can get another $10,000 in premium a month or whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, and I don't mean that negatively, that's just, it's business, that they would be willing to do something on a special basis for the tribes, maybe through the exchange or with the exchange somehow. And I am not aware of any place in the country that does list billing per se, and because of this issue with the possibility of being construed as a group plan and some other issues that crop up for how do you pay for somebody who left work 2 months ago and you paid the premium and you paid it wrong and now you want the money back if you're, quote, the employer, or in this case the tribe. So I think we should look at the DOI. We should definitely look at ACA and see what ACA may say about this sort of thing before we go further, and be able to take that to your tribal council meeting or whatever it is.
Tribal consultation
Meeting, be able to take it and say, here's what we've done. We probably would have, I mean, you talk to the carriers, what, once a week? Throw it out to the carriers and see what they say. They may have more information, more detailed information about how to construct such a vehicle for paying for tribal members because of the unique situation of the tribal members. I don't know, but just my experience has been it's sort of a bucket of worms. We have to very diligently go through all the bits and pieces to figure it out.
And for the record, CJ Bowden, to address those issues, Mr. Mazzoni, you're correct. Actually, the ACA lays out step by step that tribes are allowed to pay for their members, and they can do so. The thought that the exchange going away from aggregated billing and the insurers not conducting a list bill on their own was completely from the tribes. We will go forward and ask the insurers, the individual carriers, if they would do that, and then we can report back to the tribes. But it is laid out in the ACA. That was a concern, and I'm probably overlooking some of the concerns because before I only brought actionable items, and at the tribal consultation I was accused of turning a deaf ear to the tribes and not bringing any information forward. So finally, on the last portion, tribal consultation process, several tribal clinic directors strongly emphasize that throughout the consultation process with Nevada HealthLink and the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange, their concerns have not been resolved or communicated to the board. The members present would like the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange to pursue adding staff to act as a full-time tribal liaison, making sure that all of the tribe's issues are heard and acted on in a timely manner.
Thank you, CJ. So here's my thought, and tell me if this is wrong. I'm kind of thinking that that it might be more helpful to schedule a meeting with the tribal leaders, yourself, and maybe 2 board members. I think Marie Kerr has been interested in the tribal issues, and I think might have some experience. I don't know whether maybe either of the doctors would, I might be, the chair might be interested. I just think, I'm kind of thinking this committee has got probably enough on our plate, and especially going forward, for the balance of 2014. And it would seem to me that it might be, easier to kind of just schedule a meeting with the tribal leaders, get 2 board members, yourself, and anyone else you want from exchange staff, and kind of sit down and go through these issues. Now, would this have to be a public meeting, or could it continue to be the meetings like that you're having with them, where we could all, just get together?
There are a couple of ways that we could do it. If we were allowed to go to one of their tribal clinic director meetings, but that doesn't have all tribal leadership at it, then it could be done in a non-public meeting, but all tribal consultations are done as public meetings. The records are recorded and the records are kept. That is correct.
Okay. Okay, so that's my suggestion. My suggestion is let's get together a little group, take it out, not have it be part of this committee, and just 2 board members, and get something scheduled and kind of see where we go. Obviously, we want to have information that is useful to them. We want to make sure that we get that information sheet done and updated, and, you know, the correct one on the website, and get it distributed to them. I don't know that we could have 1 person or 2 people dedicated to tribal issues at the call center. I don't know that we could hire a staff member. Just like some of these things, I don't know that it's within our ability to do. So I think we need to figure out what we need to do under the ACA, what we can do, and kind of just try and get many of these issues resolved at one meeting. I don't know. What are your thoughts and any other committee members' thoughts?
Ms. Joyner, do you have any thoughts? You've actually attended some of the tribal director meetings with me.
I was, if you want anybody from this committee, in addition to the board members, I'd be happy to serve. I mean, it's a topic that I'm interested in. I think that sounds good. I think I would just worry about the open meeting law as far as the difference between quorum, or there is an interpretation out there that having even 2 board members may be an issue. So just double check with your DAGs to make sure that we're complying with all of that. But if you would like an extra person, I would offer to volunteer also.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, so that's that. Tibby or Levon, if you have any either comments or objections, I just think we should kind of just push this to a different group.
And I do think that your idea of having a different group, participate in looking at this issue and attempting to come up with some solutions that are suitable to the tribes. I think that it would be too much at this point for this committee to take on, but I think it is certainly an issue that we need to address, and having a group of people who can do that would be most beneficial.
Thank you. All right, so we don't need an action. We don't need to vote on that. Do we need to vote? No. Okay. Does that sound all right to you? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close out agenda item 7. And we are now at discussion, possible action regarding dates, times, and agenda items for future meetings. So here's my thought. My thought is we've only got 35 days of special enrollment. I don't think there's going to be a benefit for us to meet during the special enrollment period again, personally. I think there's just so much going on, and 35 days is just really nothing. So I would suggest that we meet in June, and in middle, end of June. So we'll be able to evaluate special enrollment, and we'll be able to kind of get some direction from the board about what items that they would like this committee to work on for the next open enrollment period. So that's my thought. I don't know if anyone else has any comments. Dwight
Mazzoni for the record. I don't disagree, although I think that might be a bit long if we go to the end of June. And I don't know what the board is planning on meeting between now and June. Maybe we could review that and leave it up to your discretion. The one thing I would want to make sure that we have, and I'm sure we can get input from a number of different people, at least on my side of the fence, is a checklist of items that if we're going to be around 45 to 60 days from now before we meet again, just have a checklist of things such as when can we actually have someone go online and bill or pay a bill and all that, the things we've been talking about today. To have a checklist from Xerox and from the exchange as to what's happened to those issues. I feel very bad that we come in here sometimes and we just seem to keep beating on the same drum, asking the same questions, and we don't have answers. And if they can't do something, hell, all they got to do is tell us we can't do that. We aren't going to do that. That's not on the board. And I understand that Shauna and Steve now and you, CJ, give some direction to how some of these go, and some stuff is on the front burner, someone's on the back burner, and some it's not even on near the stove yet. Understand that happens, but it would be helpful for us to know when we could look forward to certain things being accomplished, certain requests being addressed and said we can or can't do this or whatever. Because right now I'm very, very frustrated with coming to meeting after meeting, both the board meetings as well as our task force meetings, and not having pertinent and qualified information available to us, even when we're asking via emails, phone calls, and personal conversations with people at Xerox, people here at the call center, and even with the exchange. And I get this from numerous people. I hear from agents all the time. Virtually every day someone calls me about an issue, wanting to know how to handle something, what to do, and try and give them the best advice I can. Sometimes I say, I don't know, I got the same problem, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but when I figure it out, I'll let you know. So I think if we can start getting some checklists or something that says, here's the stuff we talked about, and here's the answer to your question. And then we start publishing that as best we can, or however we can do it. Certainly you're well aware that there are numerous meetings of different groups. I don't know about the facilitators. Tibby can better answer that, but of the agents, there's numerous different meetings we can go to and make either a long speech, a short speech, a report, or whatever, and let people be aware of it. Some of those people will not be on the list that you're creating, CJ. That's fine. I don't care. You know, it's part of what we live with. I don't sell some of the products they sell, so they don't have to worry about that. But I'd like to have some sort of a checklist. Maybe the checklist could be shared with the task force so we could add, amend, suggest other areas. And then that could be used as kind of a guideline for our next meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll ask, I think Shauna had taken some copious notes as well, and I know CJ's got notes here, and so I'll ask maybe Shauna and CJ to follow up on that together. I think that's right. I don't want things to get missed, and I think, yes, things are obviously getting missed. We've got, every meeting we're asking for 10, 20 things, and some things we get back and some things we don't, and we follow up on some things and other things we don't. But I definitely think all of the kind of functionality issues that the brokers and the EEFs are bringing up need to, if we don't have a meeting, that doesn't mean that we're not addressing them until June. So I'll ask Shauna and CJ maybe to follow up with you on that offline, if that's okay. So my suggestion is so we're having board meetings still once a month. It's the second Thursday of every month, and then we're plugging in some other board meetings as things come up. So my suggestion is the next board meeting, we've got one in May, obviously, but the next one in June is June 12th. I would suggest we meet the week after that, June 19th, at 2:00.
Madam Chair,
yes?
This is Stevie. May I suggest, I know the importance of having maybe the 2 board meetings before we meet in June, but is it possible that we meet before the second board meeting, which will put us on the first or second week of June before the board meeting? Because if there's anything that we need to address or recommend to the board, then we will have time to do it on the following board meeting on June and not wait until July. And I think it's enough time for us to get a report of how the special enrollment went, have some breathing time for the exchange to kind of settle in all the pending tasks, and prepare to finish up the following 5 months of interim enrollment, where we can then focus on QLEs and SHOP. So thinking more in a proactive way, is it possible to do it before the second board meeting from today?
Tibby, I understand. I understand what you're saying. The issue in my mind with that is that's only 4 days after special enrollment has kind of closed, and we're just pushing everyone to the edge here on a lot of these issues. Okay. And I think what I want to get back to is the board giving us direction on issues they want resolved. And I think, but I do think a lot of that comes from this committee, right? Because that's part of, now that we all have the expertise, we're able to kind of say, hey, we need to resolve these issues. But I kind of, I just think that's getting just too tight. We've got a lot of, very large issues going on, with the board. And, I think that's just too tight. So that's, I'd love to accommodate, but I really think we should go to the 19th.
No, I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I thought we had a month in between, so maybe even the first week of July, just to give time. I don't think it's enough time to settle in after a special enrollment. It's what I meant, and I didn't put two and two together end of May and then the first week of June. So I'm sorry. I meant the first
No,
week
that's,
of
yeah,
July.
no, that's fine. I think, yeah, no, so thank you. I'm glad. So we're on the same wavelength. I think if we go to July, we've got the holiday week. It would be like July 3rd. I mean, we could do like July 1st. No, that's what, everyone's kind of saying no. Let's tentatively right now schedule it for June 19th. Let's do that.
Okay.
And then if we kind of think there's not a lot for us to do as it gets closer, then we'll push it to July. But let's at least hold that date right now, as a group, and then we'll see kind of where everything's going. And if we think we want to push it to July, I think we can. Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Dwight Mazzoni.
And Mr. Mazzoni, okay?
Dwight Mazzoni for the record. Just want to clarify, and that's why I asked Greg to step up. Memorial Day weekend is the 23rd, 4th, 5th, and 26th of May. Then we have 4 days till the end of enrollment, of our open enrollment. What effective date does anything happen that's paid for or happen after the 15th of May have? Will it have a June 1 or a July 1?
July.
And that'll meet the criteria of ACA. Is that right?
We can't hear you guys up in the north.
Sorry about that. For the record, CJ Bowden.
There we go.
The question was, if a person enrolls after the 15th of May, they would have a July 1st effective date, and they would still face the penalty for January through June on a prorated basis for not having coverage.
Less than 3 months that they're allowed to have no coverage for, right?
We have to look at that. The Finance and Research Officer Damon Haycock and I look at it, and you are allowed a 90-day lapse in coverage or less than 90-day lapse in coverage. But if you have over, we believe that you have to pay for those 90 days as well as.
I'd like to suggest that between what you guys know, and I don't know how much Greg's operation can be involved in this, but somehow between now and before the 15th of May, I would say by the 5th, 6th, 8th of May, the 10th of May, that something be sent out to all people that are helping enroll, facilitators, navigators, agents, that describes in detail what we are just talking about, as much as we can. I think this goes along with everything else we've been talking about today, is this communication issue, because I guarantee you that there's going to be people out there that have no idea what we're talking about. And if I can point to an email or hand somebody a piece of paper like we got today about QLE, that would be very helpful, not only to us who are selling the products, but also to the people who are buying the product. And everything that we just said, is that a moot issue if they are Medicaid qualified?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I think this needs to be detailed out so that we have it in front of us in some sort of a format that makes sense where everybody could look at, and I can hand a piece of paper to a prospective client and say, you realize that this could happen to you. Now, whether or not the IRS is actually going to do any of this or whatever, I don't have any idea. I'm willing to take a chance on that, but I think we need to get everybody indoctrinated.
So I just need to, we're on the agenda item of next agenda item topics, so we need to stay on that topic. So let's just say that we would like to discuss that at the next meeting.
That's something.
Okay.
Yeah, but, well, wait a minute. Can we back up at all?
Yes, we can discuss that at the next meeting, and staff will expeditiously put it together.
Yes.
But the
And
problem is
CJ,
that will be after everything's done.
CJ will make sure to be in contact with you offline.
Staff will be very
Thank you.
expeditious before
Thank
the next
you.
meeting.
Okay, any other agenda items for our June meeting? Okay, with that, I am going to close that agenda item and we are going to adjourn. No. Oh, public comment. Sorry, I didn't open my thing. Any public comment up north? Any public comment down south?
Yes, Madam
Yes.
Chair.
Really?
One public
Oh,
comment.
No, that's okay. Please stay. Oh, and we've got some up north as well. Okay. So I did not mean to suggest that we didn't want public comment, so forgive me. If we can start down south, that'd be great. And please remember 3-minute limitation.
We can't hear you. Okay, there we go.
This is Vicki Mayville. I'm the president of the Nevada State Association of Health Underwriters, and I want to just say that a lot of what Dwight said, I agree 100%, so I won't repeat it. But it's just been really frustrating, and up to today, it's been frustrating. I went to somebody's house a week ago and spent a couple hours on the phone working on them re-enrolling because they got disqualified from Medicaid. And I know you've all heard a lot of stories from all the brokers, but this is mine. We got up to the point of choosing a plan, and I said, well, I need to talk to him about that, and I'll call back. And I was told to call back the next Monday because they were going to do upgrades that weekend. Called back the next Monday, and they said, oh, well, first of all, that person didn't even know they did upgrades and hadn't been there for a while. But the latest on that person who wants to enroll July 1st is I need to wait till May 16th and maybe start again and do another application. And this would be our fourth application that we've done. So it continues to be frustrating, and I appreciate all the work you guys have done, but man, it's got to be better next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayville. Could I have somebody talk to her and... Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. There's no more public comment down here. We can go up north.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Evans. I'm an EEF, and I lead a team of 7 through one of the grantee organizations. So I also wanted to echo what Dwight Mazzone had said, but I also wanted to say I think there needs to be a little bit more education maybe on the producer side, the brokers and agents, because I am able and my team is able to go in even after people have enrolled and they've been effective. We're able to go back into their accounts and do even a one-time online payment. We're able to, at the end of their enrollment, go in and do an online payment and set them up. They get a receipt. So I think it may just be a matter of educating more on the dashboard. But I also wanted to say that we're very pleased at the response that we've gotten from the exchange, especially when we're having certain issues. My team is calling in. They're getting response from the call center within 5 to 10 minutes. We've sent special circumstances to Stephen, and he's replied almost immediately. So we are finding things are getting better. Although on the call center side, I will echo what everybody has said. Just this week, one of our assisters had called the call center, had problems with a case, and was told by the call center representative, you have to get in and enroll up to 4 times and be unsuccessful before we're going to make a case for you. And then we'll do a case number and you'll have to call back. And when the assister persisted and said, why is that? The call center representative had no idea why, just this is what you had to do. So there is a lot of misinformation through the call center. You're calling either the producer or the EEF helpline, and these are supposed to be the cream of the crop as far as the call center is concerned, and it doesn't seem to be the more experienced or more well-educated call center representatives. So we kind of take these things with a grain of salt and try and do what we call workarounds. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Vidya listened to this, and I am certain is going to go back to his staff and figure out what's going on, because I would say there's been with such the small group of people that have been here today, there's way too many of that same story. That's just way too many of that same story. So that needs to be addressed. So Mr. Vitiello, we will task you to do that. Any other public comment up north? Okay, with that, I will close the meeting and thank everybody for participating, and see you next time. Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Tibby. Thanks, Levon.
Thank you.
Welcome. I got disconnected for a minute. Oh, I still disconnected.
Thank you all.
All right. Okay. It's good.